Today, I want to talk about the beautiful story that we got for Huntress Wizard in the new episode of Fiona and Cake. This was a beautiful episode that gave us the origin of Huntress Wizard and deep insight into how wizard societies work in the land of Oo. This is similar, of course, to how they work in real life, with even certain episodes of the original Adventure Time that focus on the initiation of the wizards, actually recreating initiations of different secret societies. So let's break down what that looked like in the show as well as in history. Now, even in the original Adventure Time, Huntress Wizard was a bit of an enigma, so having an episode going deep into her backstory was actually really interesting for me. The episode opened with Huntress Wizard as a young girl when she was just known as Huntress. As in order to earn the title of wizard, you have to actually be initiated into one of the secret societies of wizards in Oo. This involved a series of sacred rituals where Huntress Wizard had to prove herself, starting with first rites, which she performed very well, but which had to come with a sacrifice at the end in order to give to the Heart of the Forest. This Heart of the Forest is the power source for what we would call the Green Wizard Society, one of the many orders of wizards that we see in the show, with each having different power sources and secret initiations based around those power sources. Here, we see Huntress Wizard giving up the hand that she cut off in the first rite in order to become one with the Heart of the Forest and receive some of its power. This leads to her becoming one of the group, where, like the others, she has to put on a special eye covering while doing a special hand signal that only the Green Wizards seem to know. Huntress Wizard is known for being a loner, not just with friends, but even in her relationship with Finn, she's been pretty distant, keeping themselves apart from each other for what looks like decades now, instead of committing to each other in order to live a full life together. This seems to be not because of her wizard training, but rather she's more of a hermit in her wizard training than others are, especially in the Green Wizard Society. At the end of her initiation, they make a point to talk about how she is part of the group now, but even with this, Huntress Wizard insists that she's still her own person. Now, this is actually pretty common in secret societies, which are in part groups, but also made up of people who tend to be loners in general. This only actually becomes a problem when she ends up betraying them by first telling Finn about the Heart of the Forest. This was done so that he wouldn't go there, but of course he doesn't listen, and back in season 1, he went there and got scratched by the heart itself. Now he seems to be dying, and the other versions of him in the other dimensions might be affected by this too, so Huntress Wizard is claimed to be betraying her team again by going to the Heart of the Forest in order to get some of the magic liquid inside of it to try and cure Finn. This is something Huntress Wizard was warned could go horribly wrong, and of course it does, leading to the Heart of the Forest actually becoming some sort of primordial beast coming out of the ground instead of what we thought at first, which was some sort of plant. Due to the wound that Huntress Wizard created when she was trying to get some of its liquid or blood out, this primordial monster's head ends up collapsing on itself into some sort of dimensional portal, which of course Huntress Wizard gets sucked into. Here, Huntress Wizard appears to be in some sort of cosmic realm that connects the different universes, where she unfortunately splits into many parts that are turned to seeds and then scattered across the multiverse. While this happens, Huntress Wizard herself is still able to maintain her spiritual form in this cosmic dimension, where she should be able to interact with all of the different worlds through her little seeds. With the show actually being about Fiona and Cake, the most important seed of course landed in Fiona's apartment. And the next episode will undoubtedly be about Huntress Wizard using this small new form to try and interact with Fiona and get her on a multiverse adventure again in order to restore her different parts. But what's really interesting about all of this is that this is the story of initiation for secret societies all over the world, dating back thousands of years. So let me explain. In Adventure Time as a whole, the wizards are a special class of people who practice magic, specifically based off of initiation systems, which, like the Green Wizard initiation system, probably connects you to a different power source that you can use. These societies were best explored in the episodes Reign of Gunthers, and especially the episode Wizards Only Fools, which both involved going to Wizard City and learning more about these weird systems. In Reign of Gunthers, it's actually the Ice King who goes to Wizard City, and we get to learn a lot about not just the system, but also Simon's feelings about it. In order to get into Wizard City, you have to know the special password, Wizards Only Fools, with passwords being an important part of initiations today, such as Freemasonry, as well as its inspirations dating all the way back to ancient Egypt. The problem is today that in addition to mystery schools like Freemasonry, there's a lot of different secret societies that exist, each with their different passwords and secret symbols, all of which you have to have an understanding of in order to find secret locations, and that confuses the Ice King. Huntress Wizard herself is in this episode and dunks on the Ice King for not being able to keep up with all of the different secret symbols. But Ice King's complaints really more so reflect the thoughts of Simon. After season 1 of Fiona and Cake, Simon ended up becoming a teacher at the Wizards Academy, allowing him to do what Ice King said he wanted in this episode, which is to put all of these secrets out into the public so everyone can understand them and magic can be for everyone instead of just for those who have been initiated. In Wizards Only Fools, we get the story of Bubblegum, Finn, and Jake trying to get into Wizard City in order to get some magic for themselves. But what's interesting is that a lot of the episode is subtly modeled after real initiations. One thing we get in Wizard Only Fools, as well as the new episode of Fiona and Cake, is the idea that you need some sort of guide in order to bring you into the initiation itself. In Wizards Only Fools, this is the Ice King, with Bubblegum managing to record the Ice King saying the password, which is of course Wizards Only Fools, during which he goes on a rant about how he has esoteric knowledge that he isn't allowed to share with them. This mirrors the story we see for Huntress's initiation. In Fiona and Cake, Huntress Wizard is guided into her initiation by a figure known as Spirit Dream Warrior, someone who has a lot of sway within the Green Wizard Society, where other Green Wizards, such as Witch Wizard, seems to think that the young Huntress is unworthy of being part of their society. And like Bubblegum, Finn, and Jake needing a real wizard to get them into Wizard City, so too did Huntress need someone to be her guide and to vouch for her in order to get into the Green Wizard Society. Now, as far as other power sources go, there appear to be many, with each of the initiation systems of course having their own. We now know about the Heart of the Forest as the source of power for the Green Wizard Society, but in Adventure Time Distant Lands, they explored another one of these powers hidden beneath Wizard City. This episode was about the Wizard Academy, with some of the teachers trying to resurrect a dead primordial being. This being, known as Kokontepi, was said to be an ancient primordial source of power that wizards were using in the Great Past before realizing just how dark and evil its energy was. Because of this, figures known as the Usurpers of Wizard City ended up burying this figure beneath their city in order to hide it, and resurrecting it would bring about great new power in the land of Oo, though from once again a terrible and evil source. This entity is interestingly seen in a flashback in the episode Gold Stars, where we get a few quick glimpses of the early moments of chaos in the universe before creation really sprang into existence. Among these many primordial ancient monsters is Kokontepi, who would end up being one of the magical power sources on our planet millions of years ago. Now, real-life secret societies with initiations like this date back to ancient Egypt and are also found in many other civilizations around the world. The most well-known one today is Freemasonry, which is clearly alluded to in the Wizards Academy, with the logo on their window being seen both in Distant Lands as well as in the new series. The Freemason logo uses a square and a compass, but when you remove those symbols, all you have is two triangles intersecting. And because of that, to allude to Freemasonry, a lot of different movies and shows just have a different variation of these two triangles intercepting in order to reference it. With the Wizard Academy, what they've done is they've taken the letter W and placed it on top of the letter A. But because the A fits perfectly within the W, it also looks like two triangles intersecting, with the one at the bottom pushing its way upwards. In the Esoteric or concealed movement, these intersecting triangles are meant to represent the heavens and the earth intersecting with each other. In Freemasonry, the two of them overlap perfectly in the logo, meaning to represent the perfect union of the two. But in the case of Wizard Academy, the W being made with the A pushing that triangle upward seems to imply the earth getting its place into the heavens. This makes sense with the Wizard Academy being founded for the evil purposes of finding that ancient primordial power source, as instead of some sort of perfect paradisical union with the heavens, they wanted to rise up as powers of the planet, taking control of everything, including the heavens. Now, each initiation ceremony is different, just like they probably are in the land of Oo, but they all tend to have the same key themes. First, a fall or shatter into other worlds, and a death and resurrection-like experience. But why is that? Well, in ancient Egypt, this ceremony was used to connect with the ancestor spirit Osiris, who many of you are probably familiar with as the god of ancient Egypt. This was done with a death and resurrection ceremony, as the story of Osiris in ancient myth is that he dies and then has a momentary resurrection in order to impregnate his wife, with this momentary resurrection leading to him becoming the most powerful spirit in the afterlife. Variations of the ceremony have been found around the world, as I said, and even today can still be found with smaller tribes in Africa even, where instead of connecting you to some sort of ancient god, it's just supposed to connect you to your own ancestor spirits. And for the Egyptians, that's what Osiris was, their ancestor spirit. So this ritual in general is meant to connect you with a spiritual entity on the other side, using a sort of death and resurrection or fall and rise ceremony in order to simulate a near-death experience. Basically a ritual that simulates going to the other side and talking with other spirits and coming back to the earth again with that knowledge. Now, smaller cults are said to connect to smaller spirits or smaller ancestors, with the larger cults really just being the ancient religions we know, like that discussed in Egypt. Though it should be noted that the initiation ceremony doesn't require you to be an actual descendant of any figure in particular, and each ritual is different because each is used to connect you to their particular spirit. And when it comes to the Heart of the Forest, I think it's going to be revealed that this isn't just another random power source that exists in Oo, but perhaps one of the greatest power sources in the entire world. Now, of course, in addition to that fall and rise or death and resurrection, there's also the theme of shattering that we discussed. This is hinted at in Huntress Wizard's ceremony, ceremony where she has to cut off her own hand and offer that as a sacrifice to the heart, setting up later in the episode where her entire body falls apart in order to be used by the heart as well. This causes Huntress Wizard's different parts to become seeds that go across the many different dimensions. Now, what's important to remember is that this appears to be common on this plane, as there's other spiritual beings that can separate and come back together seemingly with ease. This all seems to be based more so on these spiritual entities' choices and what they need out of life at that moment. The problem is that in order to ascend to this realm, you generally have to be a very advanced person spiritually. And the problem with Huntress Wizard is she is personally divided. Part of her wants to help the people in the Green Wizard Society who taught her everything she knows and gave her the power that she has. But part of her also wants to help Finn, to stop him from dying so that they can continue with their journey here on Earth. And it's her desire to help Finn that caused her to shatter into different pieces and end up in the different multiverses where different versions of Finn exist. Her spiritual form still is able to come together, thankfully, but even that seems to be a little bit of a struggle for her, with us seeing her falling apart. Now, this split is best described in the Gnostic tradition of initiation, which was built around a character named Sophia, which a lot of you probably know from certain texts like the Apocryphon of John or Pistis Sophia. For those who don't know, the story of Gnosticism is that Sophia is a divine light in a higher realm, like Huntress Wizard technically is when she makes it into the cosmic realm in this episode. The thing about Sophia is that she doesn't want to wait for her divine partner, which in this case would be Huntress Wizard's initiation group, who she tries to separate herself from while using their powers. Instead, Sophia wants to try and use the power of God to create on her own, and doing so causes her to shatter into many smaller lights that fall into a physical creation. The story of Sophia is that the figure of Jesus from Christianity actually has to restore her to her original form, and does so by coming down to the earth with his story of death and resurrection, just like we talked about being in all of the ancient secret societies' initiations. With Huntress Wizard, however, her story in general is a bit more hermetic. Hermeticism is kind of Gnosticism's less creepy cousin in my opinion, with a lot less historical commentary and more so a focus on the spiritual ideas of initiation. In Hermeticism, there's one true God, but in addition to this one true God, he creates a sort of mirror image of himself that we would call the primordial cosmic man. This figure is giving all of the powers and blessings of God, but he doesn't have all of the wisdom and knowledge. Together, they make many creations, including the beautiful earth. But when the cosmic man looks into the earth and sees his reflection within it, he can't help but love the version of himself that he sees. And because of that, he chooses to fall into the earth and become a part of it. The earth itself also loves the cosmic man and thus tries to hold on to him so that he doesn't escape and return to his heavenly home. And the ancient god above all has to simply allow this to happen, with the implication being that it happens over and over again because man keeps rising out of its situation in the earth, then seeing how beautiful it looks in the reflection again and returns to it. These themes suit Huntress Wizard in my opinion, who has a big focus on isolation, but also has a similar story of the cosmic man with the earth in her relationship with Finn. Huntress Wizard herself is the spiritual being who exists in the higher plane, or at least who was able to get there in this episode, but who chooses to return to Earth, and because she loves the idea of what she is with Finn, being comforted by him when they're both dying on the spiritual plane. And despite knowing the trials and struggles that come with that, she can't help but return to Finn over and over again, despite their breakups being because she believes she's meant for some higher spiritual purpose, one that involves her being isolated and alone. But what do you guys think? To me, this is one of the most beautiful episodes of Adventure Time, and I couldn't wait to make a video about it. But I'm doing videos a little bit different here and there lately, and instead of scripting this all out, I kind of just made an outline and then improvised from there. So sorry if this video is a little different than usual, or if I sound funny, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you want to talk more about Adventure Time or cartoons in general, come on down to the Cartoon Universe Discord server. We have a lot of different channels for a lot of different cartoons, and the link will be in the pinned comment down below. See you guys there.